welcome to beautiful Muncie, Indiana, the home of Washington Redskins offensive lineman and former Purdue standout Ryan Kerrigan, and the Schweet Shiznitz podcast. I am your host, Jason White, and here with me is
Krista White,
your co-host.
Are you really recording this time?
I am really recording.
Last week it just went on and you didn't record. I'm just checking early this time.
We are recording right from the very beginning this week.
Great.
So what is the Schweet Shiznitz podcast?
The Schweet Shiznitz. Sounds like curse words to me.
They could be substitute curse words, I suppose. Shiznitz kind of is a substitute curse word.
Is it really?
Yes. It means...
Now I feel bad.
Yeah, well, it's okay. I guess it's still better than saying the real curse word.
Not really. No.
I think it is.
Okay.
So, we are a podcast where we watch your favorite 80s movies, and then we talk about them, and we love 80s movies. Both of us grew up through the 80s, watched all of these movies as children or teenagers, and we are rewatching them as midlife adults and re-enjoying them, or sometimes not enjoying them. And then we let you know how we felt about them, if we liked them, if we didn't like them, and give you recommendations on whether we think you should give them a shot.
Movies you love to hate, or hate to love.
Or love to love.
I don't know.
So,
I didn't think that music was ever going to stop.
It stops about the same time every week.
This time it was longer.
It was about exactly the same.
I don't think so.
Yep. So, before we get into our movies, let's talk about some other things that are going on in the wonderful world of movies. We were not with you last week, in case you did not notice. We were on vacation. We went to the second city of Chicago.
The second city?
The second city. Chicago is known as the second city, even though it's actually, I believe, the third largest city in the United States after New York and Los Angeles. They pride themselves in being the second city. They apparently don't count Los Angeles and consider themselves like a little New York, even though they're not that little.
We were in Chicago? Are you sure?
We were in Chicago.
Okay.
We went to the Field Museum, went to the Planetarium, went to the Brookfield Zoo, went and saw the Navy Pier in the rain.
We peered in the rain?
Yes, and spent a lot of time on buses, probably more time than we needed to.
Thanks a lot, Jason.
And went the wrong way one time. Right bus, wrong direction.
It was a long one time.
Ended up in part of Chicago that isn't necessarily intended for us touristy type, and had to find our way back downtown where we were staying and visiting all of the sites. There are a lot of things to do within walking distance of our hotel, but all of the big sites were usually a short bus drive away.
We drove past the Trump Hotel and cursed it.
Yes. I think our oldest, Ray, took a picture and posted it on the social medias.
And mocked it. Just telling the truth.
So if you haven't caught on, we are not big fans of the Trump
And
dynasty.
after Chicago, we went to St. Joseph, Michigan.
Yeah, much smaller town.
Much quieter.
You can actually drive around.
Right. No one was honking or yelling at anyone. It was kind of nice after Chicago.
Yeah.
No buses
went
for
to
us.
The beach. There's a beach in Chicago too, but it's a little trickier to get to, and you can't find parking very well. Though it wasn't super easy to find parking in St. Joseph either.
True.
It's a small town, but it's a very tourist-heavy town. Everything there is geared towards tourists. If you are listening to this and you're from Indiana and you are familiar with Brown County and Nashville, imagine Nashville, Indiana, but along the edge of Nashville, instead of being Brown County National Park, it's a beach along Lake Michigan.
Something like that.
So that's basically what St. Joseph was. There's downtown is a lot of little shops and places to eat and things of that nature, and then you go a couple blocks over from downtown and you are on the beach.
We enjoyed
the lake.
ourselves.
So yeah, we had a good time. Spent a day at the beach. Watched the fireworks at the beach the night before that for the 4th of July on the 3rd of July.
Yes.
And ate around there. Went to a Big Boy because Big Boy in Michigan is not the same as it is in Indiana. And we have Frisch's Big Boy here in Indiana.
It's the same thing, though.
It's they're owned by different people. There are slight differences. Like they actually scoop their ice cream on their hot fudge cake in Michigan, which they do not do here. I don't know how they make their ice cream in Indiana, but it is cut in perfect squares to match the cake.
It's
so
slabs.
It is somehow pre-produced.
Anyhow, that's where we were.
So we will get into, now that you know about our vacation that you probably didn't care about.
Oh, sure they did.
We will get into movie news. In the movie world since we last talked to you, there have been a few new movies come out. The ones that are currently sitting in the top 10, there's a new Spider-Man movie that has been number 1 for the last 2 weeks because every time Marvel puts out a new movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it seems to just make hundreds of millions of dollars.
I need to discuss something important.
Yes.
My jeans are wet.
Okay.
I should have changed them. They're not very comfortable.
Because we were in the rain?
Yes. And I went to move your truck, and when, your truck's kind of a little bit of step for me to get into.
Yes.
And when I went to step up into it, somehow, like from the thighs down, I got drenched.
That's an interesting thing to share. I appreciate you sharing that with us.
I think that they like to hear what's on my mind.
Okay.
And so, especially my left leg is completely drenched, and it was cold.
Yeah.
So, just wanted you to know that
Cool.
my pants are wet.
Cool story, bro.
It's not like the butt of my pants are wet, so it's just, it's from like my mid-thigh down.
So, anyways, Spider-Man is making tons of money.
Hey, at least I still have my pants on.
There's also a new
You're
movie.
ignoring me, aren't you?
Yes,
It's
you
that
do
time.
still have your pants on. That's not always the case when we record, but
Hey, that was like one time early on. I learned early on that you were going to call me out on that stuff.
the upside to recording in a home studio is pants are optional.
Except that you call me out, so I need pants on, or you're going to let everyone know if I have them on or not.
There's a movie out called Stuber, which is about an Uber driver named Stu.
Why?
He apparently picks up a ride who happens to be a police officer who is chasing some criminals, and it is an action comedy, so apparently
Maybe I have
funny
heard of that.
action things happen from there.
Do they go get Uber Eats?
They might. I haven't watched the movie.
Okay, well, you put it on here. I figured you know about it.
I haven't seen it.
If you
so.
slap it on my notes, you better know about it, buddy.
That I told you what I know about it. The other one that's out that is new is Midsummer, which is about some people who go to essentially a Renaissance festival in Europe, and it turns out that it's a little creepier than they expected, and the people who running the Renaissance festival are up to no good, and there's a dark side, and things go badly. So if you're into that kind of thing, you can check that out. It does have, I can't remember his name, but the kid with the weird eyebrows.
Wow, really?
He was
Says the guy with the weird eyebrows.
No.
Yeah,
he
you have
was
weird
in
eyebrows.
all of, the movies that we watched with the kids, the ones that had the Maze Runner movies. And then he was also on the one movie with Jason Sudeikis and Jennifer Aniston, where he recruits them all to pretend to be his family so he can run drugs across the border in an RV.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And the kid gets bit on the wiener by a spider.
Okay, let's just move on. Upcoming, we have The Lion King.
Yes, The Lion
Live
King
action.
will be coming out anytime.
I think I might need
It is
to watch
getting
that.
all the hype, and
Yeah.
apparently Beyonce sings a song in it that everyone's saying is going to be winning lots of awards.
I think I might need to watch that.
I mean, Beyonce could probably fart in a microphone and win awards.
It's too bad you couldn't because you fart all the time.
Yes, and I have
Just-
microphones, so
Yeah.
why not? And then in upcoming movies, of course, The Little Mermaid is
I've heard a
getting
lot about
all
that.
the talk because apparently some people have issues with The Little Mermaid being anything but a little red-headed white girl.
That's because people are dumb.
Yes, people are dumb. Little Mermaid is a mermaid, which is fictional and can be about anything.
Exactly.
So, her best friend was a Jamaican crab. So...
Exactly.
Who cares?
I agree.
Kristen Shaw has been added to the cast of the new Bill and Ted movie.
Another thing I don't care about.
If you don't know who Kristen Shaw is, she was
She was the Little Mermaid, the original.
Yes. No, she was the girlfriend/wife on...
Oh, wait a minute. Talking about a Jamaican crab and talking about the kid that got bit on the end of his wiener.
Jamaican crabs, we just went on vacation.
No, speaking about the kid who got... bit on the end of his wiener. Jamaican crabs.
Yes, it wasn't a Jamaican crab. It was a tarantula.
Anyhow.
Yes, speaking of Jamaican crabs, we just got back from vacation.
No, I don't.
We need to have a talk.
I don't think so.
Kristen Shaw was the girlfriend, Will Forte's wife/girlfriend/wife on Last Man on Earth. And apparently she's in the new Bill and Ted movie. I don't know what role, if she's going to be Bill or Ted's wife, or
maybe she's Bill or Ted.
Who knows? Apparently Bill couldn't make it, so...
The new Bill.
And they are hot and heavy making the new Ghostbusters movie. Apparently all of the diehard Ghostbusters fans were not happy with the all-female remake of the Ghostbusters movie.
That's because people are stupid. And I'm sure it was all men who felt that way.
Probably.
Because men are stupid.
And so now they've got the son of the creator of the original Ghostbusters.
Son of a what?
Jason Reitman.
Son of a what?
Yes. Is working on the new Ghostbusters movie.
I was hoping there was going to be a Ghostbusters 2 with the women. They were frickin' funny. They are. They're some of the best women in comedy.
I agree.
I know you do, because you're not one of the dumb guys. Once in a while, you're a dumb guy, but not like these other guys who are all, look at the size of my tailpipe, listen to how loud my truck is. When I take off at a stoplight, I have to make the black smoke go everywhere. I rip the sleeves off of my shirt so you can see my muscles that I think I have. You know those guys, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't like those guys. Oh, I have chew inside my lip all the time. Watch me spit. I'm so great. Don't like those guys.
So now that we've talked about all of that, we can get into this week's movie. This week's movie is
The Delicious Dish.
Kind of maybe a B movie from
Not
the
The Delicious
80s.
Dish.
It had A-list actors.
You're ignoring me again.
Yes. It had a couple of A-list actors, a lot of other actors who you may not recognize, but the lead actors are people who you will know. And
Helen Hunt.
Yes, Helen Hunt was definitely one of them.
Sarah Jessica Parker
was the other, and then a bunch of other people. It was
that I don't know.
A movie that just seemed to be made because other movies like it were popular at the time, and they thought, why not see if we can make a buck off of this trend? And so this week we watched the 1985 somewhat hit movie, Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
The girls of Holy Grace have a reputation to uphold.
Day-o. Say day, you say day, you say day, you say day. I'm not going to let you miss anything.
Hi.
Stay away from him, he's a boy.
We had a deal.
We made a deal when I was 7 and a half. Nightlife with the Muppet Show.
Sorry.
I can do any step you can do.
I hate him.
He's a guy and he's alive. What's there to hate?
He's just, you know? I mean,
Is he going to call you tomorrow?
I think so.
You are grounded.
We're in this thing together, huh?
We sure are.
The moves, the music, the movie.
Let's do it.
Girls just want to have fun.
No, that was not Cindi Lauper you heard singing.
No, it was, as much as it may have seemed like Cindi Lauper,
It did not seem like Cindi Lauper, actually.
it is the song that Cindi Lauper wrote and made famous, but apparently they could not afford the Cindi Lauper version of the song the movie is named for. And so we got...
A cover version by Deborah, is it Galley?
Sure. Cindi Lauper does appear in the movie briefly,
Which is odd.
in a diner scene.
They could afford to put her in there for a brief moment, but not her voice.
Right, but not have her sing. That would
That
cost
is
too
correct.
much. We can only have her show up in a diner. So the movie actually is also titled slightly different than the song. The song is "Girls Just Wanna Have Fun," and the movie is
Want
titled
to have fun.
is titled "Girls Just Want to Have Fun."
Yes.
The movie stars Helen Hunt and Sarah Jessica Parker, as we mentioned before.
Shannon Doherty.
Shannon Doherty plays a smaller part in the movie. It also
A little sister.
It also has.
You need to stop pulling away from the microphone, Mr. White.
In leading roles, we have Lee Montgomery, who really did not do much of anything after this. Jason Silverman, who played his creepy best friend, who you may remember from Weekend at Bernie's. And its sequel, Weekend at Bernie's.
Is that an
2.
80s movie?
It is an 80s movie.
We're going to have to watch Weekend at Bernie's.
I'm sure we will.
It's been a while.
It is. He played the creepiest character in this movie. There is one scene that, when it happened, my wife, the look of disgust and response of disgust from her was probably the most amused I was during the entire time we watched the movie. Not by the movie, but by watching my wife's response, because he does a practical joke. I guess you would call it a joke. It's more like sexual assault on a girl, where he tells her to pretend like she's an antenna and wave her arms back and forth while he tries to radio for help during World War II, and uses her chest as tuning knobs to tune the radio.
Yeah, that was gross.
And yeah, that is something that would never, ever, ever fly in a movie in 2019. But apparently standards were a little bit differently in 1985. So,
yeah, he wouldn't be alive.
No, it was quite disturbing, and it was as I knew what the joke was. I don't remember seeing it in the movie before. I haven't seen this movie in probably 25 years.
I don't think I've ever seen it. I didn't know you had.
It seemed familiar, but I knew what the joke was as soon as he started it, and I was like, I can't believe they put this in a movie. They can't follow through with this. And they went through with the whole thing, and it was just like
Disgusting.
jaw-dropping.
It was.
So,
Let's get into the movie.
so the movie is about Janie, who's played by Sarah Jessica
Parker. Hey, that's good.
Sarah Jessica Parker. You may remember her from a few other movies we've done. She was in Footloose.
Yes.
She also married Matthew Broderick of...
What?
Why am I just drawing a blank? We just did his movie.
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
And
Bueller.
so, of course, she went on to do Sex and the City and
Stuff.
a lot of things. And then we have her. She shows up as a new kid at a Catholic school. She is an Army brat. Her dad travels around, and she's gone from school to school. She's excited to be at this new school, not because of the school, but because she has moved to Chicago. And she's always wanted to go to Chicago because it is the home of her favorite dance show, Dance TV.
Never heard of it.
And I don't think it was real.
Okay.
So if she got to Chicago, maybe she could get on
the show.
Her favorite TV show, Dance TV. This is the most ridiculous TV show I have ever seen. There is one scene where they show them all dancing, and they're all dressed up in something resembling football uniforms. It's more like they're wearing like helmets with shoulder pads and like Speedos. And it's just really, the whole thing's disturbing.
It was just a goofy movie.
Yeah. So the show has a host and then a kind of a co-host who's a Cindi Lauper-esque character who her job is to just behave crazy and do off-the-wall antics. And
to look good next to the host.
Yes. And
but right away, Sarah Jessica Parker and Helen Hunt headed off at school. And Helen Hunt's character is going to make sure that, obviously I remember their names. Sarah Jessica Parker's character has the time of her life in Chicago. And she too loves dancing, so they've already become best friends.
Now, Janie, who is Sarah Jessica Parker's character, is really straight-laced. Her dad's really strict.
He's a real jerk.
And then Helen Hunt's character, on the other hand, is the wild child. Her name's Lynn.
And she's the class clown.
She wears the craziest outfits. She's always causing trouble. She's boy crazy.
Well, she wears the uniform to school, but then she has a way of, on the bus, she flips like the vest inside out and it becomes...
Takes the sleeves off.
Yeah, everything becomes a whole new outfit. Her skirt ends up being able to be peeled off and turned around, and by the time she's done, she looks like a punk rocker.
Right. And but she is just intent on getting Janie to loosen up and basically get into trouble. And so she convinces her that she should follow her dreams and audition for this dance competition.
Even though her dad has said no, absolutely not.
And even though there's not really a realistic way for her to do it because she has other obligations and she's going to have to sneak.
Well, and there's no good reason that her dad's given her for not. Just because he's a stick in the mud. He's just like a jerk, a turd. There's no reason that she can't do this other than he's a pain in the butt.
Right. And so they show up for the auditions, and meanwhile, there is the other lead character, Jeff, who is working class. His dad works at a factory, and he is, he's a big muscular guy who loves to dance but has not had any formal training. Now, Janie has been taking dance and gymnastics lessons her entire life. So she not only loves to dance, but she is exceptionally...
limber?
Well, and very good at it. Jeff is, good at dancing in the Kevin Bacon Footloose good at dancing. He doesn't have... technical dance moves. He just moves around rhythmically. And so they show up at the audition. Janie gets paired with Jeff by the judges, and they have to dance together. Now, meanwhile, is it Lynn? Yes, Lynn gets paired up with someone else who apparently is not much of a dancer.
No, he was stepping all over her toes, dropping her.
He also may have been paid off
by another character who
Natalie
is a
spoiled rich
daddy's girl
who will she wants to win this really bad and will do whatever
doesn't matter if it's her talent
to win it. And so she pays off this guy to pair up with Lynn and ruin her chances of winning.
Right.
And so Janie ends up with Jeff, and they do really well, and they make it through to the finals. So does Natalie and her dance partner, who it looks like she's maybe hired a professional dancer.
Yeah.
To dance with her. And Janie decides she's going to reverse Dirty Dancing, and she's going to take Jeff and she's going to teach him how to dance for real and not just like his self-taught dance moves.
Right, but she has to sneak out of the house and out of school to do so.
Right, so like for instance, one of the situations they find themselves in is that she has to skip choir practice to go to practice dancing, and Natalie overhears her saying something about skipping choir practice, and so she sneaks out to the payphone and calls her dad, pretends to be one of the nuns at the Christian school, at the Catholic school that they go to, and tells her dad that she's Sister Natalie and is checking on Janie because Janie didn't make it to choir practice. And, of course, Dad doesn't know anything about Janie not being at choir practice. So now Janie's in trouble. And, of course, in one of the many outrageous, unbelievable scenes, Helen Hunt's character, Lynn, covers for her, and they show up at the house, and she drags her in as though Janie is just...
She passed out. She worked so hard at something. I don't remember what it was.
Yes.
But she passed out, and Helen had to bring her home.
And dragged her into the house and put her on the couch. And, completely not believable. But, it's an 80s movie, so believability is not.
Well, and they've never had problems with Janie, so they decided to believe her.
Yes.
Yes.
And so she continues to practice with Jeff, and they start to develop feelings for each other because, of course they do. You can't practice dance, as we learned in Dirty Dancing and Footloose.
That's true.
You can't practice dancing with somebody and not develop feelings for them. That's just what happens. That's why in the world of professional dancing, most of the male dancers are gay. Because then they can maintain a professional dance relationship and not fall in love with their female partners.
So I can only take dance lessons from a gay man.
Right.
Okay.
So so that's why so many professional dancers are gay men. It's not because they're better at dancing. It's just because it keeps them from compromising their jobs.
I'll try to remember that.
Yes. So when straight men go to apply to be dance instructors, they're like, nope, this isn't going to work. You're going to end up developing feelings for your students.
So in the movie, Natalie is played by Holly, I don't know how you say her name, Gagnier?
Yes.
And she did all of her own dancing because she's actually a professional dancer.
Yes.
That's pretty good to know there. No stand-ins for her.
No, and she was the spoiled rich girl. And she did dance fairly well. Her character was supposed to be the nemesis in the movie who was...
Everybody has one.
And then, of course, at one point she pulls the... Daddy, I really want to win this competition. It's not fair. You need to help me win this. And so he goes to Jeff, who is Janie's partner, and says, your dad works for me.
Yeah, he owns a factory that his dad works in.
And it would be a shame if, my daughter lost this competition and something happened to your dad's job. And so now Jeff's torn, and then he starts being really cold towards Janie and not wanting to show up to practices. And then he has a conversation with his dad, and his dad's like, do you really want to do this? Is this something you care about? And he says, yeah. And he says, well, then you let me worry about my job. You go win the competition. And so he decides that he's going to go compete with Janie, and they double down on their practices and go for it at the competition.
They go for it.
At dancing. They don't do any...
I didn't mean that.
They don't do any dirty stuff. It's not Dirty Dancing. That movie was a couple years later. Even though the lift move from Dirty Dancing...
Yeah, looks about the same as their lift move.
Yeah, they do a lift move in here that is pretty much the same move 2 years earlier. So apparently old Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey may have stolen that
I don't know.
Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
I don't know.
I'm not going to say they did, but I'm going to say they might have. They did.
Okay.
So, like I said, there was a whole string of, Footloose came out, and there was Flashdance, and then this came out, and then Dirty Dancing came out.
Yeah, all of the main cast members, with the exception of Shannon Doherty, are actually older than the characters, which is quite normal. Actually older than the characters that they play in the movie. But what's really out of the ordinary is Doherty's character is 12 years old, and she was actually 13 at the time of filming. She was... Whose little sister was she?
She was Jeff's little sister.
There we go.
But she palled around a lot with Helen Hunt and Sarah Jessica Parker. So she didn't...
she was a decent little sister on the show.
Yeah, she was very supportive of him, and probably a better friend to him than his best friend on the show, who was really only doing anything to try and get girls. Even when he showed up at the competition, he shows up, immediately pops his trunk, and starts trying to sell T-shirts.
Yeah, that's all he did the whole time, was try to sell T-shirts.
And then he's trying to leverage any opportunity he can to impress girls, which he fails at pretty much constantly. There's never a point in the movie that I see him trying to...
There is a point in the movie that Janie's dad finds out that she's been sneaking out, and he cuts the tree down, well, the big limbs and things, so she can't get out of her room, the window. And doesn't he screw her window closed or something?
I don't remember.
I don't think he did, because she could still get out, because she did end up getting out anyway. And that didn't keep her from going and practicing, because her best friend, Helen, who is who on here? Helen Hunt?
Lynn.
There we go. Still finds a way to get her out.
Well, and then they have another situation where they're at the mall shopping for clothes because Lynn's trying to, make Janie over and get her, up to date with the new 80s styles. And Jason Silverman, I can't remember his character's name, but he shows up and shows them that he's got an invitation to Natalie's coming out party.
Yes.
And that
you don't mean she was gay, right?
No, that was not a thing in the
Didn't
80s.
She turn 18 or something?
She was turning something. I don't know. But they decide that...
To get her back.
Because you can't go to the party without an invitation.
Right.
So they make hundreds of copies of the invitation and go giving them out to every person on the streets that they can run into.
Anybody who looks like even a little weird. Punk rockers, like everybody on the street.
Yeah. Now, of course, the most unbelievable thing about this is most of your, street thugs and punks and people like that would really have no interest in going to a teenage girl's coming out party. That would be the least interesting thing that they could do on a Saturday night.
Probably.
Nonetheless, they all show up.
Some of them come and break through the window to get there, which was pretty funny.
So, but, it's for the sake of comic effect, and they all break through the window to the shock of her and her dad. And then, of course, there's a big scene where they start playing, punk rock music instead of the normal music. A couple of the guys who show up start playing with the band that's there for the party. And then they start dancing, and there's this, big choreographed dance to the punk rock music, because if there's one thing edgy punk rockers love to do, it's choreographed dancing.
Right. Yeah. And of course they all know the same dance.
Yeah, they all just happen to know the choreographed dance to that song. So, but that's in any music movie.
Of course.
There's always at least one, if not several, choreographed dance scenes where everybody at the dance, Footloose has one. They all have a big choreographed dance scene where somehow everybody who's at whatever particular party or event happens to know how to do the exact same dance.
Well, Janie's able to get out of her room to make it to the dance, dance off. And of course, it's a feel-good movie. So of course, she and her partner win, but her dad and mom just happen to turn on the TV and see it on, and they don't know how she got there.
And her dad rushes down there,
of course,
to put a stop to it.
Right.
But he gets there, someone stops him from rushing on stage, and then as he's watching her, he realizes that she's really good.
Right. And has a change of heart.
And he suddenly is really proud of her. And so they finish dancing. They have a dance-off because they tie those two, and Natalie and her partner Ty have a dance-off, and they end up winning. And then he tells her how proud he is of her.
Of course he does.
Because, that's all it takes is being there live and watching her dance. And all of a sudden, your whole attitude towards life changes. So, it's an 80s movie. What else can you say about it? Right.
It all ends wonderfully.
Yes. And they all go on and live happily ever after. At the very end, apparently Ricky, who was the co-host of this dance show, had quit. They call for her to come back out on stage. They don't get a response. They call again and don't get a response. And finally, a chariot comes wheeling out with another blonde dressed in a crazy outfit with her hair all spiked up. But it's not Ricky. It is Helen Hunt, or Lynn, who has somehow, despite being in high school, been chosen as the replacement co-host for Dance TV.
Of course. That's how that works.
The other thing that I had an issue with watching this entire movie is I don't know how old Sarah Jessica Parker is supposed to be. I'm going to say 16, 17, somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't know how, even in 1985, you can go through this process of auditioning and trying out
without your parents' signature.
Yeah, without getting some kind of waiver.
I couldn't tell you.
I mean, I couldn't do like marching band in high school without getting a signed waiver from my parents.
Well, you're not supposed to think of those things. It's a movie.
So the fact that she could sneak behind their back and do this. Now, I will tell you, I did, at the age of 14, get a summer job that required you to be 16 to do the job by just putting down a different birth date on the application. And then at 15, I did the same thing, putting down that I was 17. And then at 16, I went to apply for the same summer job. And
had to be 18?
No, I just went back to 16 again.
And nobody noticed?
And nobody questioned it.
You've never told me that.
So
you're just full of surprises.
So there were some things that nobody was really watching super closely.
And you didn't have to have anybody sign for it or anything then?
I probably had to have a signature, like, to have the job, but I don't think anybody, like, looked over the application or...
Alrighty.
So, yeah, I spent 2 summers working there lying about my age, came back a third summer with the correct age, and...
That's kind of weird.
Was never even questioned about it.
All right. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it is time for us to take a break.
Yeah, we'll take a short break now. If this is a good time if you would like to refill your drinks, use the bathroom, maybe get some popcorn, some ice cream, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Show starts in 1 minute.
Please remember to replace the speaker on the post when you leave the theater.
And we're back. Hopefully you had a nice break. If not, again...
Where are the hot dogs?
Hot dogs? We don't have any hot dogs. Would you like some hot dogs? You may have some hot dogs in the refrigerator.
I think the question now is, does this get made today?
Does this movie... I'm going to have to give it an absolutely no way this movie gets made in 2019.
Well, you might be right. 20th Century Fox and Lakeshore Entertainment in 2009 announced that they were working on a remake of the film, and they had hired Michelle Morgan to write the script. But as of today, 2019, it has not been made. So I don't know if she's been working on it or if she's like, you know what, I'm trying really hard, but this is kind of cheesy. It's just like, it sucks. I can't make it.
I don't even see there being an audience for this movie today. Like, unless it's like, I guess, how, like, bands like Poison go back on tour and they are able to sell out concerts because people who were Poison fans 30 years ago will come back and see them, like I did.
Yeah, I don't know.
But, like, there's nothing about this movie...
that is remarkable?
...that would attract an audience 30 years later.
Yeah, I don't think it probably would either.
And so, critics' reviews, to be honest with you, there were no major critics who even reviewed this movie. Apparently, the movie did not garner enough attention to be worth any critics taking the time to be like, hey, let me watch this movie and tell you what I think about it.
I read that it received generally poor to mixed reviews. Certain critics considered the cheesiness factor a reason to watch the film, but other people said the cheesiness factor was not successful in addition to the genre 80s teen movie. So some people were like, hey, the cheesiness is like a total reason to watch this because it's so cheesy, it's funny. And other people were like, this is so cheesy, it's killing me.
And
so, you know...
It has a 38% on Rotten Tomatoes. I did read through the Rotten Tomatoes reviews, and basically most of the people either were between disliking and hating the movie. There were a few people who liked or loved the movie because of just the over-the-top ridiculousness of it. But it was...
kind of like what I said. It's either people love the cheese of it, or they hated it because it's so cheesy.
So about a third of the people just thought it was ridiculous enough to be entertaining, and 2/3 of the people thought it was horrible.
Well, I think that I could be ready to give you my review.
Okay, so we rate this movie in one of 3 ways. If you thought the movie was just horrible, would never want to see it again, wish that it would just go burn in the bad place, you would say... And if you thought the movie was just all right, you know, it's an okay movie. It's probably worth watching, maybe not worth watching over and over again, but don't regret the fact that it was made, and don't regret the fact that you watched it. It would be... Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. And then if you just really loved the movie, thought that it was great, would love to watch it over and over again, then we would rate it... Simply irresistible. I want to know where the bad place is. It needs to burn in a bad place. Where is the bad place? Well,
is that like somebody's butt? I mean, where's the bad place?
You've seen the show The Good Place. Well, it turns out they were in the bad place all along. Mm-hmm. And that's the bad place.
Is this like at Trump's place, or?
Yes, it's the Trump Hotel.
Is this like woven into Trump's hair?
It's the kitchen at the Trump Hotel.
Is it woven into Trump's hair?
Probably.
Is it like on Trump's phone when he's doing his tweeting?
The Twitters.
His tweeting. Well, you know, I'm going to surprise you and say that it was so irresistible. What do you think if I said that?
I would think that you have been doing some drugs.
Where would I get drugs from?
I don't know. You've got a bunch of them in the cabinet up there.
No, I don't. You know, saying that on the air, the only medicines I take are prescription, and they're not that good.
There are good prescription medicines.
Medicines?
You may not have any of them.
Did you say medicines?
Yes.
So if I said it was irresistible?
I would be worried about you.
Would you really?
Yeah.
What would you do?
I don't know that I'd do anything. I mean, you've liked other really bad movies, so...
Really like what?
I don't know that I want to go there right now. You love The Bachelor. The Bachelor is like the worst show.
Listen, I don't love it. I
ever.
like The Bachelor. It's one of my guilty pleasures.
It's horrible.
I have to watch it.
Everything about it is just horrible.
But could I ever, like, I wouldn't put, like, my friend on there. I mean, but I just can't help but watch it. And I bet there's people listening to me that are like, yeah, I watch it.
It's disgusting.
But we're... Okay. And
so, yeah, sometimes your judgment is
what about you?
is flawed.
You watch football.
Not very often.
Well, that's bad.
Football's like one of the most popular things in America, so...
Well, we got Trump's America. It's
Yeah.
pretty bad.
And probably the demographic of people who watch football and people who voted for Trump's probably a lot of the same people.
So if I said that I liked it, you would do what?
I wouldn't do anything. I would just be worried about you.
Would you?
Yeah.
Really? Because we do have some different tastes, you know.
I know.
I mean, I like Dirty Dancing.
I know. And I thought it was just okay.
Oh, well, used to you couldn't go for it, so I'm
Right.
rubbing off on you.
So,
But your mom does still need to know that if some decisions that you might make or have made are not me. I just want to clear that up.
right.
You know, some things that she might think are iffy, or some things that some things that you might decide, you know, in the future, that she's like, dear God, what? It is not me, Linda. It is not me, Linda. And her name really is Linda. It's not that joke going around, you know.
Her name's not Karen.
Well, I mean, you know the joke that's,
I know.
listen, Linda. But, fine, I don't like the movie. Fine. There. Do you feel better?
Yes, very much. We can stay married now.
Oh, please. You wouldn't leave me.
So...
Would you?
No.
I couldn't get you off my finger any more than I could a sticky booger.
You've gotten
Wait a minute.
sticky boogers off
You're
your
not
finger.
off my finger. I wouldn't have you on my finger, though. That would break my finger.
So, in my opinion, I think this movie was absolutely horrible. When we were watching it, we were maybe half an hour into it, and I was like, this movie is really bad. If it weren't for the fact that we do an 80s...
But what about Crybaby? That's bad.
It is. It's actually came out in 90, though. So
Oh, darn it.
we've been spared. But if it wasn't for the fact that we were doing a podcast on 80s movies, this is a movie that I would never, ever, ever, ever watch. It is horrible.
Well, you don't have to watch it again unless someone wants to pay us to do it.
Yeah, someone would have to pay us, and I don't think that anyone... I can't imagine someone being sadistic enough to pay money to make us watch this movie again. So I'm also going to go with you and give it a... So that brings us to the ending part of our podcast. This is the part where we start to relax, settle down,
But, you know,
maybe put on some herbal tea.
speaking of money, we come back from vacation, and there's a really bad rain a couple days ago, and we find out in our entryway that our roof is leaking, and we're like, oh, it's probably just the part where it's seamed together. So I get a guy to come out, and he says, come out and look at this roof. You know, we're not roofers. We don't know anything about roofs. And he points to other ones around, and we look and notice, yeah, it's been put on really badly. Whoever put it on 10 years ago just slapped it all willy-nilly up on the roof. So we need a new roof. So yeah, if you want to, you know, send us money, and if you want to pay us to watch this again for a new roof, I would do that.
Yeah, or if you just want to come put on a new roof.
But you have to be good at what you do,
good
though.
at it, though,
Yeah. Or if you want to send us money to help us get a new roof. Because, yeah, I don't know where that's coming from.
Yeah, you're starting to sound like a televangelist, so...
Yes, God is speaking to you right now. And He's telling me that you want to give me a one-time offering.
that the money is out there.
It's out
and
there.
it's in your wallet. Mm-hmm. So,
God commands you today to send me this money.
patreon.com
Yes.
/Schweet Shiznitz.
And it doesn't even have to be a one-time offering, a one-time gift. You can keep them coming all the time.
So anyways, on a more serious note, You can find us online at www.schweetshiznitz.com.
There's nothing more serious than God, Jason, and God's money.
Yes.
You can follow us on Twitter at Schweet Shiznitz. You can follow Jason at Gravy Boat Pirate. You can follow me at Krista White 73. I'm not very exciting though.
We're on Facebook at facebook.com/Schweet Shiznitz.
We're on Instagram at Schweet Shiznitz.
You can email us at schweetshiznitz@gmail.com.
We're on the email.
We're on the emails. Please share our posts, our tweets, let your friends and family and followers know about us. And this is the best gift you can give us besides that aforementioned money.
And a new roof.
And a new roof.
You can find Schweet Shiznitz on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find quality podcasts. Aren't we on some Apple Podcasts now?
Yeah, I think Apple Podcasts, because iTunes isn't really a podcast place, so the Apple's kind of changed their whole game up.
Yeah.
And then Stitcher, iHeartRadio.
Stitcher makes me think of something funny like your laughter and stitches. Anyway.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review. Your ratings and reviews make us more visible and help others to find us when we're lost.
And Schweet Shiznitz is paid for by listeners like you or listeners that are you. To be a supporter of Schweet Shiznitz, you can go to patreon.com/Schweet Shiznitz, or you can go to schweetshiznitz.com, and there is a link that says become a supporter.
Click on that link, hallelujah, and go there.
Supporters will get access to bonus content, and they can help us shape the content of our show. We will do things for you for money.
That does not sound right. Please take that back.
We will do things on the show for you for money.
I don't like that either.
We will talk about movies that you want us to talk about for money.
Please message us or tweet or whatever and let Jason know that you too watch The Bachelor and The Bachelorette and he's just a big turd.
Or that you think it's horrible.
No.
We will mention you on the air, and we will send you gifts and surprises.
Surprise!
And
here's my kid.
They will be nice gifts and surprises. We won't send you
They
mean,
can be
awful
nice
things.
Sometimes.
So,
I can send you a big handful of my husky's hair he's shedding right now.
Yeah, shitting?
Shedding.
Oh,
Jason.
Sorry. I misheard you.
Linda, wasn't me.
I was like, that's...
Linda, I didn't do it.
So, we will be wrapping things up on that note.
And putting it in a bow.
Yeah, putting a bow on it.
Putting it in a bow.
Putting it in a bow?
Yes.
A bowl?
Bow. I'm going to wrap it in a bow.
You're going to put it in a bow?
Okay, we're leaving.
Okay, so
we're out.
We will talk to you again next week. Until then, tell your mom I said hi, and we'll see you later.
Bye, Felicia.
Bye-bye.